going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today's day 2 of this challenge of the M340 being built. We have 10 days left now, and this is where we left off yesterday. I'm going to show you guys now under the car. You can see that there's no engine in there, so that's a good start. Today the plan is to have the pistons all sized to the block, cut the rings, set the ring gap. One day at a time. We'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll see where we're gonna finish off today, but I have big plans for today. So let's get those pistons in and everything. Tear it down first, obviously, and then, you know, try to get the pistons in and everything else. Just so you guys can see, this is where we left off yesterday. Now I'm going to obviously remove everything, remove the turbo, remove all the wires, valve cover, cylinder head. I'm gonna be taking it out in here. As you can see, everything's set up nice. It kind of works as a stand for me, so I'm going to pull the cylinder head out in here, and then I'm going to unbolt the transmission, remove the transmission out of the block, because at that point I'm not going to have the cylinder head anymore, and take the engine out, put on the stand, and then take the pistons out. I'll have to rotate the engine, work from the bottom, take the oil pan out, take the back cover for the timing chains. Yeah, so let's start tearing this thing down. Alright, so we got the cylinder head out. Looking really good. So the only thing we're gonna have to do here to put the new pistons in, since they are standard size, we're gonna have to cross hatch the cylinder walls, and we could do this in-house. And since there was no overheating issues or nothing like that, we're not gonna need to resurface the block or the head. We're just gonna give it a good cleaning. We have our own way of cleaning without damaging and getting all those marks out, pieces of the old gasket, and so it's nice and clean. So the other gasket will seal. The gasket that we're gonna be using on this is a cut ring head gasket for boost. So this side of the engine, which is more wiring harness, sensors, heat management, oil filter housing, we're not going to touch this side because, like I say, this engine was a known good engine, was running fine. We're just upgrading for more power, so the crank is not even coming out of the engine when we do builds. Usually B58s are really good with the bearings, the rod bearings from this engine. B58 are coated already, the top bearings, and I like to use them. I never had a problem with them. Problem is not on the bearings. So upgrading everything, crank staying in the car, in the block, I'm sorry, but the transmission is getting out, right? So now we separating the transmission from the block, mounting the block on the stand so we can flip it around and work on the bottom end, pull the pistons out and start putting the new ones in, clean everything out. Obviously got to take the axles out too, because the axles go through the oil pan like usual BMW stuff. So yeah, let's get to finishing this up. Alright guys, so we're almost at the end of day 2. I got all the pistons out. Look how good that crank looks. So good, no scratches. The car only has 50,000 miles. No scratches on the cylinder walls either. Pistons look really good. Obviously there's carbon buildup, but no scratches whatsoever. One thing that I personally like to do, every mechanic or race car builder will do things differently. I like to reuse the stock bearings. It's got good clearance, and the top bearing is coated. As you can see, the top one is the one that takes more load from the piston going down, pushing on it. And one thing, bearings are never supposed to touch the crank, so it doesn't matter what coating it has. If it touches the crank, it's done, right? That means you have you have a detonation problem. Two, you have oil pressure problem, or something happened to cause that. Hydrolock somehow, but this is just to protect, I will say, the crank. In case it does touch, you're able to just swap the bearings without touching the crank, without scratching the crank, damaging the crank. So I don't care what coating you have on your bearings, it's never supposed to touch the crank. There's an oil film in between the bearings and the crank, and that's where it rides on. It never touches. All right, just want to give you guys that explanation. If you want to build your car, there's parts that are more important and will benefit you way more than replacing bearings. So put your money where it matters. Spend smartly. I can help you do that. I can help you spend your money wisely when you're building your engine and not just blow it and waste. Let's continue going. Like I say, I want to have these pistons in the car. So right now is, I want to say, probably 7 o'clock. But yeah, we'll see where we get. I'm gonna start cleaning things up now, opening up packages, setting the table and everything. So let's go. Guys, so we're all set up. Make calculations here, measure correctly the cylinder walls and to get the correct ring gaps. And obviously you gap the ring and you number which cylinder belongs to, because if you put it to a different cylinder, maybe if it's, if the diameter is different, it's going to change the ring gap. So I like to keep them on the cylinders that I gap them for. So it's all gapped now, everything's separated here. Just gotta mount now put together the pistons to the rods, wrist pins and everything, lube everything up, and then put them in the cylinder bores. I'm glad that it's like we started climbing a mountain, right? Started climbing a mountain. Now we're like up here and we're starting to go back down, right? Because we took everything apart, so now we're in the process of putting everything back together in 2 days. We started the date a little bit late today. I came in, was like 10:30 in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. I had some stuff to do, but it's now almost 9 o'clock and we got this much done. So I want to say another 2-3 days max, this thing is gonna be running. So this is the end of day 2. Thank you guys for watching, and wait for day 3. Actually, there's one thing that we ran into. We ran into a problem because he bought a used transmission from a car that burned out. The guy didn't have a built motor, and he ended up throwing a rod out, and once the rod goes out, hot oil catches on fire, right? So the car burned down. He bought the transmission from the car, drive shaft, and some other stuff. But unfortunately, it was 2020 and this is a 2021, and there's a difference on the transmission. I'll show you guys real quick. Okay, so this is the transmission that belongs to this car. And as you guys can see, there's a plug here right behind the transmission mount. And on this one, there is no plug. There is just a bracket and the mount. There is no plug there. And that one has a ground here as well, so it's a different transmission. But I believe the clutches are the same, so we're going to take out the clutches of this one and that one tomorrow and compare them. But first I want to, do a little bit of research and see if the 2020 will fit the 2021. And then if it does, we're gonna take them out, check, make sure everything matches, and put the clutches from this transmission on that transmission. And this is the end of day 2. Thank you guys for watching. I catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.